Hey, this is Bill Mosley. I play Otis in House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects and Chop Top and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com. Don't touch that dial or I will lick your plate. Oh, no.
Leslie Easterbook, welcome to Without Your Head.
Thank you very much. It's my honor to be here.
Oh, man. You say that now.
I know. I probably will regret it later. Yeah, as I'm trying to get along without my head.
Right, exactly. Now, if anyone wants to call in tonight and ask you a question, what would the number be there, John?
That would be 508-644-8503.
Right. Or if you're here in the chat room, if you're too shy, you can just post it in here and we'll ask it.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're not shy, I can tell already. Well, where is 508? Can you say that on the air?
Yeah. Troy and I were in Massachusetts, and John is in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Hey. Ooh, West Virginia. Well, you've been in the news lately. So sorry to hear about all the miners. Oh, it's just continually worse news as you go along. So we're all thinking about you and pulling for you.
Oh, appreciate it.
Yeah. It's just, makes us all feel crummy. And sorry, and et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Our hearts go out. So basically,
I also say, a lot of people
back to Without Your Head.
Exactly. Well, a lot of people know you from the Police Academy films, and a lot of people know you from horror movies. Now, is there are there two different sets of fans, or do you see a lot of the same fans who like both?
Well, it was a real surprise to me, especially since we did the Police Academy movies so long ago, how many horror fans are also fans of the Police Academy movies. I don't do the fan conventions when I get to meet everybody, which is always a thrill for me. I have the best time. I don't do them for comedy, and I guess if the films were coming out, like 2 years ago or last year or something, but we made the last one in 1993, I think. So, I was just so surprised when I started doing the conventions and meeting the horror fans that many times they'll come up and they want to talk about Police Academy first. And that they grew up with Police Academy. Mm-hmm. And I realized that, they probably weren't able to watch horror on television when they were kids.
Right.
And, because standards have changed and we have a lot more channels now to watch. So they watch the reruns of the Police Academy movies and it's just so flattering. It's just a wonderful feeling to know that you might have touched someone even with something stupid and silly like Police Academy, that they would remember all those years later. So there's not really a distinction for me between the fans, except the horror fans are more apt to go to a convention. They're more apt to stay with their genre. They're more apt to be knowledgeable about filmmaking and the making of the movies and have their favorite stars, their favorite directors, their favorite writers. I find talking to horror fans one of the most stimulating things that I've ever experienced in my life in terms of just talking about my passion, which of course is the arts, but I think filmmaking is a fascinating subject. So when they come up and they ask such educated questions and I don't know the answers, and then somebody standing right next to them or behind them or something has the answers, and we get into these kind of large philosophical debates about, angles and numbers of cameras and action, and if they want more gore or if they want more story, and who does this and who does that. I always leave the conventions feeling like I've had a class in filmmaking.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was a long answer.
No, that's a great answer, though. I was just wondering, though, you said, a lot of the horror fans are intelligent and talk to you about the stuff. Do you think a lot of other people in the film business might look down on horror fans because they don't think they're that way?
Well, I don't think they understand them. And I think what we always do is if we don't understand a group or a certain person, and they have a look that may seem aggressive or even defensive, you tend to categorize them. And because horror fans many horror fans have really unique appearances. Mm-hmm. He interestingly, cut hair, T-shirts, tattoos, piercings, things like that. People just tend to put them in a category and not look at, the kind of individual intelligence that's radiating from that, the kind of statement that's being made, the interesting psyche of somebody who's fascinated with horror. So yeah, and because they don't understand it, they put it down. But I will tell you, mainstream And the mainstream media, the mainstream filmmaking people in studios all want to do horror films now because the horror films are the ones who are coming out to see movies.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who rent them over and over again. So they're beginning to realize that it's not just a group that they can be lumped as a sum, that they're or into a sum, without individual parts, that it's a very interesting audience. So I think that horror fans are becoming a lot more respected as a group.
Yeah. No.
It's really fun for me to sense that. You know, it's not likely that one of the major studios is going to do a $40 million horror film and let me be in it. You know, certainly not star in it. But I don't care. I'm just glad that they're putting their money where the fan base is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't think it takes a lot of money to make a good horror film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes all the great big stuff is a distraction, and there's really not much story there. You know, there's not much fear. There's not much trepidation. There's not much, the mystery. That's just, you know, I haven't seen them all, so
yeah.
I'm not a judge.
Well, along those lines, though, if it doesn't cost a lot of money to make a horror movie, you think places like Netflix and Fearnet on cable, like that's a good outlet for people to make horror movies and get them seen?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you can have an unlimited number of horror flicks available, and people will look at them and see them. It's just that people are making movies that are good enough to come out that way. It would be nice to have the major distributors look at them, too, because there are a lot of us who don't really go to Netflix because we just simply don't have time, and there's so much input that we're getting from the media now. So, I think it's a terrific place to get started.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I would like to see horror films, even the ones that cost $1.12. I'd like to see them make millions of dollars for the filmmakers because there's oftentimes so much creativity involved, and we don't usually reward that financially. So I say make a horror flick for any outlet where it can be seen.
Mm-hmm. Were you yourself like a horror movie fan before you started making them?
I have to tell the truth, don't I? I was a huge horror film fan when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I once got grounded for 6 months because I sneaked out of the house to go to a midnight movie. I was 7 or 8, and I sneaked out of my house with my girlfriend who was staying over, and we went to the theater. And of course, the people who owned the theater knew my parents, and I didn't put that together. So we got caught on our way home, and because I loved horror films, you know, the great ones way back, 400 years ago when I was a kid. And then I got turned off because of a strange experience I had when I saw Dawn of the Dead, the first one that came out. I actually loved the movie, but I had a terrible fight with my husband that night, who made me watch everything. And I always watched horror films. My favorite thing was to look when I could and then look away and then hear all the sound. And it was mostly my imagination. But I just loved it. Well, he made me watch everything, and it was such a traumatic evening that I didn't watch horror films for a long time. I would have this violent reaction when I think about them. But now, I love them. Now I can look at anything again. And that was thanks to Rob Zombie, who insisted that I watch Devil's Rejects. First day I met him, I said, well, I'm not going to see this movie. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, I get sick at horror films. I can't watch them. And so at the first screening at Lionsgate, they insisted that I come, and I sat between Sherry and Rob, and I said I held my hand, and I just thought the film was brilliant because I had to watch it again. So it's like that experience you have after a trauma, like, getting back on the horse.
Yep.
Because I really, 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 really love it. I really love the genre.
Yeah. Now, when you met Rob Zombie, what were like your initial what did you think of him?
I instantly thought he was just I don't know the word. It's not the right word, but I think of delicious. He's one of those guys that I thought his music was terrific. I thought his image on stage was really something fascinating, and I guess I was not like a major fan that ran out and bought everything he did and went to concerts, that kind of thing. But I was just so aware of him, and when I met him, I'd read the script to Devil's Rejects before I met him, and I thought he wrote a wonderful character. The Mother Firefly character in Devil's Rejects was such an interesting woman. She was so out of control. And I read the whole script, and I thought, this is an awfully good script for a rock musician to write. Mm-hmm. And then when I met him, he walked over and he introduced himself to me, because I probably wouldn't have had the nerve at the reading to go introduce myself to him. he was so approachable, really approachable, and really supportive. We did this big reading around a table, and he was just watching everybody and so encouraging. And so then I had this impression of I judged a book by the cover. I thought he was a musician that was maybe going to try to make this movie. And then when we started working on the set, he's so in control of the set, so well planned. With an actor, you know, there's a kind of almost a lingo that you use with an actor, especially actors that have been around for a long time, and he's talking to William Forsythe a little different than he's talking to me. He has a tendency to judge somebody's sort of personality and mood and get what he needs.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a kind of magician to do that. So I realized he's not just, you know, a good writer, a good musician. He's also a terrific filmmaker. So my impression of him, you know, the longer that I've known him, it just continues to grow.
No,
And, you know how that doesn't usually happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you meet somebody and that's who they are. Well, Rob just is so many different people all crammed into one. It'd be hard to describe him.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you get the role? Did he like seek you out, or was it something you tried to get?
I wish he had. I would feel like such a success if he had.
Yeah.
I think he okayed the list. I went in to read, and I was so excited to be reading for a horror film. And when I went in to read, I didn't even realize it was Rob's film. But my agent sent me the sides, not the whole script, but the sides of the part that Priscilla Barnes played. And I read the sides, and I thought, ooh, these are really intriguing. I'd love to play this character. And as I was driving to the reading, they put you on tape at a reading, you know, and I was thinking, I really like this character. I really feel like I'm bonded with the material, but it's going to be very hard for anybody to cast me as a victim, just simply my size, if nothing else. And I said, oh, my gosh. So I went in and I read for it. They put it on tape, and the reading went so well. I thought, I left the building saying, I got a shot at this. It was such a good reading. And the casting director, and I can't think of her name right now, the casting directors read with you in the reading. And she's just a marvelous reader. I mean, she read like, you know, Bill Moseley's part and, you know, this torturous kind of thing. And she was wonderful. And I was high as a kite. And as soon as I walked through the door and onto the street, and I saw my car across the street, I said, there's no way I'll get this. Nobody's going to cast me as somebody who's just taking it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They probably expect a fight. So I drove home and I was depressed. A couple of weeks later, I was in New York City, got the call that there was another part. And they faxed the scenes for Mother Firefly. And I thought, okay, Rob must have seen something on that tape of me playing a victim. Mm. And Mother Firefly, you know, is a quintessential victim. I mean, she gets killed. Mm-hmm. But she gets killed while she's baiting him. She gets killed while she's got the upper hand. She's gotten in his head. You know, she almost begs him to kill her. Mm-hmm. She's definitely not a victim. And also, she's trying to buy time for Baby and Otis to get away. If she can buy a day, 2 days, 3 days, there's a better chance for them to get away from the cops. So this is a character who has sort of ultimate control. And I'm not a person who's a control freak. In fact, I have very little control in my life. But just because of my size and maybe with Callahan and Police Academy, people tend to think of me as playing tougher roles, stronger roles. Not bigger roles, but just stronger characters. Mm-hmm. And I read that material in New York, and I just flipped. I said, this is the best stuff I have ever read in my life in a film script. So I got in the subway. I was going up to Washington Heights or someplace, and you can scream in the subway, and nobody ever, you know, everybody's screaming in the subway. So nobody thinks you're anything but weird. So I practiced those scenes. I started reading those scenes in the subway in New York City with all the cacophony of sound around, and came back to L.A. and went into the same room with the same casting director, the same videotape machine, and the same camera, and did the scenes, and that was it. So I think I must have been on Rob's list to come in for the other role. It wasn't like he just said, oh, I want Leslie Easterbrook in my film, you know. But then I thought if he wanted to use Priscilla Barnes and he wanted to use me, he probably, you know, decided that logically one of us is more suited to one role than the other. And neither role was any better than the other. It's just that the role that I played is much more aggressive. Mm-hmm. And I was just thrilled. I was thrilled, and I was scared to death.
Loser Boy here in the chat room, he wanted to know if you watched House of a Thousand Corpses before you took the role.
No, I didn't, and I've seen most of it since. And I really like House of a Thousand Corpses. Before I couldn't watch horror films. Remember?
Yeah.
I mean, I was in that era. It is a strangely dreamlike film.
Mm-hmm.
It's so perverse and bizarre.
And they're completely
very
different
from
movies.
Devil's Rejects. Yeah. I got a call for a part in a play written by a very famous playwright and movie maker, and the play is running in L.A. and it's a woman who does lots of horror films. She's playing the mother in this play, and it's wonderful. I saw it. I went to see it a few months ago, and so Friday night I was doing a new musical, a musical comedy, ridiculous, idiotic, stupid, and so funny. And I've been working real hard on it, and we had a 6-week run here in L.A. It was like the premiere run for the show. And from this Friday night, I was getting ready. I turned my phone off, in the dressing room, because it's shared dressing room because it's a small theater, a little experimental theater. And during that evening, I got a phone call, and then I played it the next morning when I realized my phone was off. And it was about coming in to replace this woman in that play. And I thought, isn't that bizarre? I love the play. The woman is pretty well known in horror, and she must be leading the play. And then just when I was ready to call back, I got a call Saturday morning from the theater, the producer, who knows me personally, and said, we didn't hear back from you and we had to get a replacement, and Karen Black is doing it.
Huh.
I said, of all the actresses in the world
yeah.
that would get this part, they'd be thinking of the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it kind of depended on who called back first.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were desperate. So I thought that was an interesting story.
Yeah.
I thought Karen was wonderful in House of a Thousand Corpses, and I was so different in Devil's Rejects.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't even compare. But I'm a huge fan of hers, and I just thought, isn't this bizarre that she ended up not doing Devil's Rejects because of a falling out with Rob, and I don't know the details or even why. But here, I wanted to do this play, and Karen Black is going to do it.
It's just very weird.
It is weird.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go see it tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's not in it yet, but I just want to see it again before the other actress leaves. She's so good.
No.
So good.
Your scenes with William Forsythe, they're really intense. What was it like working with him?
It was exhilarating.
Uh-huh.
It was sort of almost satisfying. But we work in two different, we're so totally different as actors, and the way that we work is so different that his behavior pissed me off. And my behavior pissed him off. So we didn't have a jolly old time, but the scenes cooked. He and Rob rewrote the second scene, the death scene. They rewrote it on the set. And I was sitting in chains. We didn't do any cut-ins for the stunts, like when I got choked and I got hit by William Forsythe. So we ended up doing those over and over and over, the whole scene. We would do that the 6 or 7 minutes, and then they cut it down to whatever it is now. And it was brutal. I mean, it really has a beginning, middle, and end, that particular scene.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, my neck was out, my shoulders ached, I was sitting in chains, my fingers were numb, my thumb and 2 fingers on each side from the handcuffs were numb at that point, with giant welts under the handcuffs. My legs were chained together. They had lifted me out of the chair, put me on the floor. I was trying to eat this tray of food, the same damn tray that's in the movie. They had my food. I was trying to eat lunch, and we worked by 4 or 5 hours before we broke for lunch with all that intensity, and we finished that first scene, and I was sitting there a wreck. I mean, completely exhausted from top to bottom, and trying to just get with my numb fingers. I remember holding the spoon and the fork and my fourth finger and my third finger and fourth finger and my thumb, and trying to get the food to my mouth, and they brought me the scene. They'd written it out. And I was just supposed to get shivved and killed. I said, where's my I don't want to use the word on your radio show. Where's my flanking food? And they come in and then William was going to do that instead of having the matron do it. And all of a sudden there's this whole come on scene. And I remember being totally exhausted, reading the scene and thinking, that is such a sexy scene.
Uh-huh.
And I so hate this guy now. And it's that kind of cross between wanting somebody and then wanting to own them, and then hating them in the process, or hating yourself. And I read that thing, and I thought, oh my God, it's wonderful. And then we had one rehearsal, and William wouldn't say his lines, and we shot it. He wouldn't say his lines, even when, he was supposed to kiss me before he killed me, and all of a sudden I realized that I'm bleeding and the blood's running down, and he hasn't kissed me yet. So it's the longest death scene in history, because I don't think I've been stabbed. I'm waiting for him to kiss me.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do anything he was supposed to do, which of course irritated me and made the scene work.
Now, if they wouldn't,
with someone like Rob and someone like William Forsythe, you can get, pissed off, irritated, tired, whatever, but you have that faith that they know what they're doing because they're excellent at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you can't be in a scene with someone and look great and have them look bad, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's working and cooking, the other person has to cook with something too. They may make bread and you're making steak, but it's going to work together.
Yeah. Even though it was a great death scene and everything, were you depressed at all that they killed off your character and they killed off all the characters?
I begged Rob for the rest of the time when I was on the set doing stuff. I'd say, can't I come back as a zombie? Can't we do a prequel? Let's do a prequel. I said, I'm not dead. I bet you that I'm really not dead. And then when you bring those pictures out, you bring my almost dead body with you. The sheriff brings the almost dead body with him.
Mm-hmm.
Throws it down. I wanted to do anything I could to stay in the movie.
I don't think you have any scenes with him with Sid Haig, but did you talk with him at all when you were making it?
Yeah. Sid is just one of the great guys in the world. I hope you're fans, because I should.
Oh, yeah. Actually, he was the first guest we had on the show.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I bet he was good, too.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome.
Such a history in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was. I was terrified.
You won't remember. You're all too young. I could just tell by smelling you.
Oh, Spider Baby's great.
Hearing you. He used to do Mary Hartman.
Ah.
Oh, yeah.
That strip show, back in the 70s. He's great. He's just wonderful. We became great friends. I went to his wedding. He and Susie got married. Yeah, Sid is terrific. And he used to, he would tell me, we sat together on the set. We hung out together. We ate together. He was so welcoming, so friendly. Because, they'd all worked together. And here I was a strange person coming in to the midst. And I was welcomed by everybody's both arms. But Sid was the first one to make the overture.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first one to say, hey, I'm glad you're here. This is going to be great. Oh, you won't believe what'll happen to your life when this film comes out. It's going to change your life. And I didn't know quite what he meant, but I assumed it was in a positive way. And he's absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
He's absolutely right. Meeting the horror fans, it's just changed my whole life. And that's just not the creative life. That's my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a lovely, it's a terrific genre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was just real quick. He was our first guest on the show, which was kind of nerve-wracking to have our first guest be Sid Haig, and but we called him up. Yeah, I was pretty nervous.
I was terrified.
Yeah, I would be too.
But we called him up, and he's just the nicest guy. He was like, he was watching House, I think, and he said, I got to record it. Just a real nice guy.
Oh, watching House, the TV show, or
yeah, the TV show. Yeah, I'll bring that. Actually, speaking of that, yeah.
So you interrupted his watching House.
Right. But speaking of House,
it's funny. Just I think the two people that I was absolutely terrified when we interviewed turned out to be the two nicest people, and that was Sid Haig and oh man, now I'm terrible. Yeah.
Those Easterbook.
Well, yeah, of course. No,
who was the other one?
The guy that was the creature.
Benny Chapman.
Benny Chapman. The late great Benny
probably
Chapman.
Was terrific, right?
Oh yeah.
He was the nicest guy.
Mm.
I was terrified on that one too.
One of the great things about being able to do horror films is being able to exercise a whole different side of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually, I was in an acting class last night, and I hadn't been in a while because of the musical I was doing, and it just dawned on me that really truly is what it's all about. A lot of us grow up, sort of deciding what our personalities will be and trying to figure out how we can fit in. And so we turn on certain parts of ourselves and we turn off the rest, and to behave like Sid does in the movies. It's like that's the side you really can't get away with it in society. Mm. But we all have the crazies living inside of us. Mm-hmm. And acting gives you the opportunity. It's almost like therapy. It gives you the opportunity to go different places all the time. And so, I think it's a common bond that you'll find with actors. Sometimes people who play really, really nice characters are really crummy when you meet them.
Right.
That always amazes me. And then there's some people that you go, wow, they're really terrific. I bet they're difficult, and they're not. Mm. Like George Clooney and Johnny Depp are my examples of, guys I thought would be sort of into themselves. Mm-hmm. And they're like Sid Haig. I mean,
well,
if you can get close enough to them, that's what they're like.
Mm-hmm. No, I mentioned House, and I was talking about the TV show, but you're also in a recent horror movie, House, which you can it's on Fearnet and it's on Netflix.
Oh, it is? Okay, good. It's
I really enjoyed that.
What?
I really enjoyed that.
Did you really?
I did. I really liked it.
Well, it's an interesting experience. Making that was an interesting experience, and I really love a lot of the movie. My only problem I have with it is that it became really difficult to finish the movie because we had an actor arrive in Poland who just decided to be so stoned and drunk that he refused to sort of do the movie. Mm-hmm. And so much of it to me is intriguing and interesting. I love the script. In fact, the director, I just had him come to the play that I just finished doing. He came on Friday night. And, I really bonded, and Bill was in it, and Lou Temple, old friends, new friends. The script was good, and then the payoff of the film isn't what it should be. Mm-hmm. And that was disappointing to all of us. And then here it is, it's supposed to be a Christian horror film. So there's not a lot of blood, and then you don't have the payoff. But if you look at the filmmaking throughout the film, it's quite good. Mm-hmm. And the crew and the sets and the people we worked with in Poland were unbelievable. Just unbelievable.
I really like
What?
I was just saying, I really like the whole setup to the movie. It's kind of like a classic, a couple stranded in the woods, and they find the creepy mansion, out in the rain, and just it's kind of cliche there, but it's it's not a cliche movie.
Well, it is cliche there, and then when I read it, I thought, oh, it's going to be cliche, but it isn't.
Uh huh.
There's something that's slightly different about it, and then this redemption theme. Mm-hmm. It comes through, and at the end, who's driving away and who's dead. Mm-hmm. And it's not as clear as it should have been at the end. But it is the same old setup, and then it kind of takes a twist. Mm-hmm. And it gets a little bit lost because we just didn't have footage.
Yeah.
For the last, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the film. But the first, it's really... I wish it had been better for everybody, Yeah. I can't think of the name of the author now. Ted Decker. I wish it had been better for Ted. Mm-hmm. Because it was his story. But I think the work is great. And this musical I'm in, the guy who's producing it and who wrote the music and the lyrics, and he's very, very funny. And he works at Disney, and he's very lovely, And he said, so you do horror movies? And I said, when I can, when I'm lucky. He goes, really? You like them? I said, yes, I've never seen a horror film. I said, you what? He said, my friend and I rented House. And I kind of thought to myself, well, I kind of wish they rented Devil's Rejects. And then I thought, no, you don't want to start with Devil's Rejects.
Yeah,
you have to learn to keep your dinner down first. So I said, well, did you like it? And he blushed. And he said, it was really good. You were so scary. You were so scary. Because I play I play a character in the musical who is very, very sexy and very sweet and very naive And she said, plastic surgery and collagen and Botox and a boob lift, which I've had none of.
Uh-huh.
But I just put on the makeup, and I danced like 12, 13 numbers, and I haven't danced since, 1936. And this guy he's such a naivete, and he watched House, and he said, I think I'm going to watch more horror films.
Did you warn him?
I did. I said, when you grow up, try Devil's Reject. But you might want to start with House of a Thousand Corpses. There are so many great horror films.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even know where to tell someone to start.
You mentioned the musical. I believe you're talking about Broads, the musical?
Yeah.
And we'll put the link up on the website. It's broadsthemusical.com.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you very much.
Oh.
I mean, it's over now, and it's like it's having to admit that I'm, elderly. But they wanted to do it with people who are in their late 60s and 70s. And, of course, they can't dance it.
Right.
Most of them. So they just did it a little younger, but, I'm just on the verge of being old enough. But we just got I just got a call to another director of mine. I have a film coming out in October called Hollywood and Wine. And I have a small part in it, but I play an agent, and she's very funny. She's a very sort of New York agent. And my friend who directed that, I did a couple films for, came to the show on Sunday and called up this casino in Connecticut that I went to the website of the casino. It's beautiful.
Oh, which one is it? Is it Foxwoods or Mohegan Sun?
No, not Fox. I love Foxwoods.
Mohegan
Sun? Is that a great place?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right here in Massachusetts and West Virginia.
Right.
No, it's in Connecticut, but it's called the Mohegan Sun.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a great place.
I actually like Mohegan Sun better than Foxwoods.
You've got to be kidding. When I walked into Foxwoods, it's so elegant.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this is like the coolest casino I've ever been to. And I looked at the pictures that are on the website from Mohegan Sun, and I sort of dropped my jaw. I mean,
you'll like it even
better. It looks incredible, but it's hard. It looks like it's a little more Vegas-y than Foxwoods.
No, I don't think when you get there, I think you'll be surprised. I think you'll really enjoy it. Yeah.
Well, he called him up, and he talked to this gal he knows there, and I talked to her today and put her in touch with our producer. And they well, I mean, I shouldn't say this because we're on the radio, and it's nothing is happening that I know for sure. But they're exploring the possibility of bringing us all to the Mohegan Sun.
Maybe we'll go see you.
Yeah.
Well, I have your phone number. You can't get away from me. I can call you up and tell you, or I can, if you email me that picture, I'll have your email.
Right.
And I can it couldn't happen immediately, but it could be like sometime in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And we could go. They have a 300-seat theater, I guess, a small one, and then they also have a great big concert hall.
Right. They have like a Coliseum in there where they have one of the WNBA teams play, and they have wrestling events there.
You're kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going up there, what, next
I missed
week?
that on the website.
Yeah.
Well, we might actually be doing this old lady musical. So, but my friend Matt Berman, the director who saw it, is, he's in his early 30s. So I think young people like it too. But he just loved it, and he called up these people because, I thought, isn't that bizarre? We could actually go, because we did the workshop production, and you don't get paid for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
and I'm looking for money. If anybody hears the show.
Right. Who isn't? But
yeah, right. You know what? We should just share it when we all get it, right? We'll put it in the pot and then make our own horror.
If we're at the casino, there's always a chance.
Yeah. A big win would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, have you had many chances to? Because I actually read that you were trained in opera to sing in movies or plays.
Yeah.
Is that you? Or?
Hold on, I just have to turn it.
Okay.
I'm trying to turn it off. There, so it won't ring. Yeah, it's my manager saying, You're talking about doing something nothing again? No. I did. I trained for opera. I used to, in fact, that's bizarre that you should mention. I was just thinking about it. Because when I was a young opera singer, I remember being in Paris. I had to do some singing in Paris, and I was learning a bunch of arias for the Aspen Music Festival, which is Juilliard's summer school, really. And I used to practice my arias in the metro in Paris.
Oh.
And it was the same thing. I hadn't done that since the time I was very young, and singing opera and singing at the top of my lungs it's the metro, it's the subway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can just sing away, because it's this kind of roar that goes in the subway. And here I was doing Mother Firefly, the scenes from Mother Firefly in the subway in New York. And there'd been a few years between.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
So
I sang opera and I did a big concert out here in California after I graduated from college, and I was going back to Juilliard to do my master's. It was the summer, and I sang with Rudolf Fremmel, who was this wonderful composer of light opera. And he was 92, and it was the last time he had ever performed in public, and I did all of his arias and songs. And
wow.
Then I was going back to New York, and my friend that I was staying here, whose father was a violinist in the orchestra, so I wanted to stick around, and I met some of the orchestra players, and then one guy who was a music editor at Universal who introduced me to a young agent at CMA, and we were all, sort of hanging out together. It was a very innocent, sweet, kind of fun summer. I was going off to, and then I also was probably going to spend the next summer with Mimi's daughter in Switzerland, and she was a wonderful coloratura soprano to be her protege, and it was kind of beginning. You never know at that stage if you would ever be a success. But I remember I stayed in L.A. I didn't go to Juilliard. I took some classes at UCLA, and at one point I got San Francisco Opera, Spring Opera, it was a touring opera, offered me to go with them for a season, 3-month season. And at the same time I got my first equity job, and it was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs for Disney in St. Louis at the Uni Opera. And one was paying, the Snow White was paying so much more than opera that I said, I think I'm going to go do the musical, and then I'm going to study acting. And I'm going to do as many musicals as I can, really learn about acting, and forget singing opera. And I made the choice, not to do it. But it wasn't like I just said, oh, I don't want to. I really had the offers, and I've been working hard at it. And I thought it's so much more interesting to work dramatically than just musically. Because in the opera, you really do have to hit all the notes, and you have to hit them exactly when the conductor wants you to. And there's not a lot of dramatic freedom. And the few musicals I've done in college and some plays, you have a lot of dramatic and personal and sort of artistic freedom, and you can make your own mistakes. Because, believe me, you don't learn unless you make mistakes. And I decided to go the other direction. So that's my story. And I've never missed the opera, except, now when I can't hit the notes anymore, I sort of think, did I waste something? But
I think that sounds too stressful, though.
It's unbelievably stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, more opera singers, I shouldn't say this, but it's personal knowledge, are heavy, heavy, heavy drinkers to the point where they have to either quit singing opera or go into institutions. And they all smoke. And it's not that those are bad behaviors, it's that those are behaviors that sometimes come out of a really intense pressure and stress.
Mm-hmm.
And, just waltzing around with all that weight on. It's not easy being that fat.
Tell us about it.
Oh, my God. I just lost 25 pounds.
You're asking why there's no pictures of us on the site.
Oh, are you opera singers?
We're all opera singers. So 310.
I'll bet not one of you is fat.
You'd
be wrong on that one.
Really? Yeah, but you might think that 20, 40 pounds overweight is fat. I'm talking like, a woman who weighs 220. And that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, weight was my big bugaboo, trying to get it off and keep it off. Mm-hmm. Because my body wants to weigh about 200 pounds. And it can't do that anymore. None of my clothes will fit. I just lost 25 pounds. I went on Weight Watchers and lost it over a year. I became a lifetime member. And then I started doing Broads the Musical, and I lost more. And so now I'm looking at myself saying, this ain't pretty either.
Oh, you've gone to the other extreme.
I know. It's like I'm boobs and shoulders. That's all you see. Oh, God. But enough about me.
All right.
Are you all filmmakers? Are you... You what?
No.
No?
No.
We're just
And you do the...
radio guys.
Yeah.
You're just radio guys. I mean, I don't say just radio guys because that's got to be full time.
Well, I sell stuff on eBay. That's what
Well, there's an art to that.
Mm-hmm. I've done that for
Most
10
of us
years.
can't figure it out, so we just keep all this stuff, and pretty soon all we have is like little alleyways to our homes.
That would be me.
Right.
What?
That would be me.
That would be you. No, you're selling it. Though. Wait, don't tell me you're also buying it.
My brother sells it.
Right.
Okay.
No, I was going to say, though, you're an opera singer, comedian, in horror movies, and you're also now a producer.
Aren't you fun? You obviously looked me up. I'm not a producer, really. It was one of the things that my manager got me as a credit on The Afflicted.
Okay.
But he was trying to get more money, and so he got the credit instead.
Right.
But I tried to produce in the 90s, and boy, I was so close to getting a great script made. Not a horror film, but so close. It was a series of beheadings, but they were done like so clean and so slick, nobody could figure out what was happening. And my character, how I found this project, was that the character I was going to play was a cop, a lady cop. So it was kind of like Callahan-ish, but not really. She was really down and dirty. And she's the one, with the help of her partner, to crack the case. And it was a guy using piano wire. And they were able to trace the wire and figure out what by the... Anyway, it was a really intricate, scary thriller. And I loved this. And I went all over town. I had meetings everywhere because that's when Police Academy was kind of hot. And we were doing all those really, really smart scripts in a row. Not smart at all. So I got meetings, and I made 3 separate deals. We were going to make this movie. Each time, something would happen and go wrong, and it would all go to pieces. And I lost my heart. I just said, this is too hard. If just tell me no. I'm used to no. I take no every day as an actor. There's somebody who doesn't want me every day, and you just have to keep going. But when someone says you've got the movie, you schedule a crew, you schedule pre-production, and it falls out 3 times in a row from different sources, I said, this is too tough for me. Well, when I went in on to produce on The Afflicted, I thought, it's just like on Writer. I did write. I wrote a bunch of scenes because they only have a 52-page script. And then the young writer, he's so adorable, he's 25 years old, he's a sound man. And it's based on a true story, and he had seen this on... I can't remember the name of it. It's a TV show, real life cases. And he had seen it, and it just intrigued him. So he wrote this fictitious script based on it. But he didn't have enough. He had a lot of narration. So I said, look, if I'm going to do this movie, you can consider it. You got to get rid of most, not all, the narration, and let's write live scenes. It's got to be action. So I started writing the scenes. So I actually earned the credit as the writer. But then they put me on as a producer, and what I've been able to do, since they're in South Carolina and I'm here, is put them in touch with people that are giving them some terrific advice as to not take a distributor, wait and see if you can get more money for post. I've been able to at least align them with people who are bona fide and have been down this road before. Because these guys in South Carolina are really talented. But they've never done a feature. And I've never produced a feature, but I've met so many people in the process of acting in features that at least I'm able to give them some advice here and there. And I just love them. They are the greatest guys. They shot the film on a shoestring, but they had the red cameras, and the reds work really well. And they've gotten everything color corrected now. I haven't seen anything in a while because I had to finish Broads. But I sent out a couple of emails saying, SOS, I need to see some footage. So I'm helping them. So I am actually fulfilling the capacity of producer. But I was doing a play in Kentucky last spring, and I read a children's book that was written by actually the sister of the director that was at my show that directed House, Robbie Henson. His sister, Heather Henson, is a writer, and she's with Simon & Schuster, but in their Athenaeum division. And she'd written this book about the playhouse that family runs. For 61 years, her family's been running this playhouse. And it's a little girl growing up in this basically summer stock theater on a farm in Kentucky, in rural Kentucky. And it's the most wonderful book. So I just formed an LLC. It's called Fearnet LLC. And I'm in negotiations with Simon & Schuster for the rights to her book because I'm going to produce.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to try to do this from beginning to end because it's like a little girl's field of dreams. It's a kind of movie. It's got magic in it. It's the kind of thing that I've had crusty old producers read it, friends of my husband's, you know, that the guy who produced MASH for all those years, Burt Metcalf. He's not crusty, but he certainly is not a pushover for material. I asked him to read the book, and he did it. He called me and said, I cried. He's 75 years old. You know, so I found this book, and it's not a horror movie, but if I can get something done with this, my dream is to be able to produce a good horror film.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
But you know, you sometimes you fall in love with material, and you go, I just can't help myself. This material is so juicy. So I mean, I guess you know, even old birds can fly.
And again, the website for Afflicted is afflictedpicturehouse.com, and we'll have the link right on the website in case you can't spell.
Okay, I don't know if there's anything on there. Have you been there?
Yeah, there's some stuff there. There's like a trailer for the movie.
Oh, okay. I wonder if it's the most recent. They had a trailer on that was not up to snuff, and the most recent trailer that I have seen still shouldn't be for regular viewing. Mm-hmm. But it might be on there because he sent it to the Red Camera site. And that's when some different distributors started calling him. Lee Daschle. So
what exactly
I
is
should
the Red
go.
Camera?
He hasn't emailed me. I should go back to the Afflicted Picture House because there was nothing there for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, the gal who was in charge of publicity didn't do any. And nobody shot stills. So if you don't do publicity and you don't shoot stills, it's hard to design a website for the movie. Mm-hmm. You know, and now they shot on their Reds. They have tons of camera grabs that they can use. But just the same three guys are doing everything. Plus, they're shooting these gorgeous political ads and commercials that they shoot out of the studio that they have with these cameras. And I mean, their commercial work is just sensational. So it's funny. I mean, I've tried to get Anya to get them off the stick. To get some photos and stuff. I mean, I really would like to promote the movie. I don't know how good it is, but I do know it was an enormous amount of work. Mm-hmm. The character that I'm playing she's really, truly remarkable. And it's a character based on a woman who kills her children. Mm-hmm. So the fictitious part is that the character I'm playing kills her husband as well. It's not just her kids, it's her husband too.
Right.
And my husband in the movie is Kane Hodder.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
And Kane came in to do the stunts and play Hank, and he's an astounding actor. You know, he was our stunt coordinator on Devil's Rejects, and I just, you know, I thought he was terrific. But I really hadn't seen his horror work, mm-hmm. which I have a lot now. But then him playing this sympathetic, really terrific character in Afflicted, he just broke my heart. You know, we have one major scene, and I whack him. But the scene, I mean, we're screaming at each other for pages before I push him down. I kick him down. I shove him down the street, shove him down the stairs. Then he starts to get up, and I kick him the rest of the way. And then by that point, I have a baseball bat, and I start whacking him in the head with the baseball bat. Then he's still alive a little, so I go get the old car and some rope, and I tie him onto the car, and I drag him, you know, like a quarter of a mile down to the shed, beat him some more with the baseball bat, and I throw him in a freezer.
You're taking no chances with him.
I'm telling you, this is the first scene of the movie. But, I mean, we screamed through several rooms in the house. You know, I'm on my knees. I'm trying to tear his pants off so he'll know I'll have sex with him. I mean, it's just an amazing scene. And this woman is so filled with religion, mm-hmm. kind of Bible Belt, you know, God will tell you and all that stuff, mm-hmm. that she goes she's totally mad, and she goes from one personality to another, the drop of nothing, you know, and then ends up torturing and killing her children.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up still liking her from what I could tell in this script.
So you've been playing some creepy moms lately.
Yeah. And I want to play a lot more of them. I really enjoy it. You know, it's bizarre, isn't it? I think it exercises something in me.
Yeah.
You know, I was adopted and I grew up on a little farm all by myself in Nebraska with family, and I didn't belong, you know. So I think there's kind of this feeling like, I'll get you back. Somewhere inside of me, you know, and I don't even kill bugs. You know, I'm such a sissy.
I think John got some questions from the chat room here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Symphorian Man, he wants to know what it was like working with Michael Winslow on the Police Academy movies.
Michael is one of the most creative people who ever... Oh, what a good question. He's one of the most creative people who ever lived. He's funny, he's dear, he's smart, he's so smart that sometimes he's too smart for his own good. I mean, he's just great. I love him madly. And his kids, and, you know, we've all been through a lot together. And Marion Ramsey, who plays Hooks, and Michael were just in Australia together. They did a series of concerts and then some fan conventions. And we've all stayed in touch. I mean, I guess we're family. You know, it's like you don't see people in your family, your cousins and things, for a year or two, but we're always connected. He's wonderful to work with. Michael, sometimes you could get on your nerves. You know, there'd be times on the set when he would make noises and, like, you'd be standing 20 feet away and suddenly people were looking at you because you're the one who was farting. Your shoes would squeak, you know. He had a sound for rubber squeaking when I'd walk around corners, like my rubber boobs. Michael, you know, but he's got the really serious side where he does a lot of very sort of serious work and writing, and wonderful to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
We got a caller here, I think, wants to ask about Police Academy. Jai?
Yeah, I love Sergeant Callahan. And,
thank you. And Sergeant Callahan, thank you.
I want to ask two questions. I know there's a new Police Academy movie coming. I was wondering if you were going to be in it.
Well, you know, you probably know as much as I do. I think it's New Line, and they're a subsidiary of Warner Brothers. And looks like they're going to do it. There was one press release or one press meeting or something where our producer, Paul Maslansky, talked about it. He gave the impression it was going to be all new recruits, and there'd be nobody from the older cast. And then I talked to a woman who's not my manager, but she manages a couple of ex-Police Academy people, and she had talked to Paul, and he said nothing's in stone. You know, so I really think those of us that can still walk should, you know, train the new ones. And that's it. A few years ago, they were going to do Police Academy 8, and it was going to be, it was Jerry Weintraub Productions and Village Roadshow, and they were going to have a few of us, or all of us, come back and train a whole new, you know, group that were going to go out and, you know, save the day and be stupid. So it may still be that, but it looks like it won't. I'm okay either way. I mean, I'm really happy to have had my run doing it, but I'll tell you, if they start shooting the Police Academy movie without me, I'll be so broke. I'll have to go into some kind of mourning for, you know, several months at least, just because we're such a tight group and we all love each other so much, and it'd be just a hoot to get that. But we, even if we are in it, we shouldn't do very much. You know, right. We should just have a little something, you know, because I was an instructor at the academy, so, you know, there could be a little bit of instructing, but it wouldn't be much if we were in it. But I think it's great. I think I sometimes think it's also our producer just trying to get some publicity, hoping somebody will sign on and make the movie. So it's hard to tell what the truth is. What?
I had a request. Could you do Callahan's voice?
I don't know. Let's see. I've got a little laryngitis today. Move it. Oh. Hooks, come here. Come here. Is that it?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You made Jai's night.
You what?
I said you made his night.
Aw, he made my night. I mean, just anybody who remembers those characters, it's so fun. Well, you know what it is? I guess when I go to fan conventions or I hear from someone like him, was he Centaurian?
Well, I want to say, no, my uncle was a cop, and I used to go in there, and I used to call everybody the Police Academy characters. So I would say, so hey, what's Mahoney?
Oh, Mahoney.
Everybody get pissed off at the police station when I would call them the characters from Police Academy.
Well, I mean, the strange podium scene with Lazard, Commandant Lazard in the first movie, the number of cops I have met that said when they graduated from their own academies that they would always do like a take on that joke. And that just makes me laugh so hard. And that's what I knew I wanted to do the movie, the original one, is when I read the script and that scene where he's getting the blowjob under the podium. It was so funny. But I had worked with George Gaines, who played Commandant Lazard, several years before in a musical production of Wonderful Town with Nanette Fabray. Well, I got to know George in Wonderful Town, so he is such a character, such an interesting man, and so just inherently funny with that big boom bass voice and all. When I pictured George doing that scene, I think I was on a sofa or something, because I really fell on the floor laughing. And I knew George was going to play Lazard, and that's when I thought, I have to do this movie. I have to. So George Gaines played Lazard, and I got to work with him again. But he didn't remember me all that well. When I introduced myself again, he looked at me and he said, "Oh, yes, you were wardrobe on that play, weren't you?" I said, "No, George, I was acting with you."
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks for calling in, Jai. Do you have something else from the chat room, John?
Well, I need to know the secret.
Uh-oh.
Bobcat Goldthwait. Was he like that all the time on the set?
No. No, that's a character that he puts on, and he started putting it on in his stand-up, many years ago, and he's not like that at all. Oh, he's so sane. That's the sad part. He's just so sane, and he's just nice and smart, and he's actually dear, and he's a wonderful director. He directed Jimmy Kimmel, for a long time.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
The Kimmel Show, yeah. And then he had a feature that came out a while ago, and I don't know what happened to it. It kind of came and went, but that doesn't mean it's not a success on the net, or Netflix or someplace. But he's smart, wonderful guy.
Mm-hmm.
No, he doesn't talk like that. And I always thought his stand-up was funny. I used to go, we hung out together on location a lot, and I'd go to the comedy clubs, and he'd perform, and, he'd start the first half hour, 45 minutes, doing all the sounds. And then he'd get tired and he'd forget, and he just was Bob being funny. And I thought he was funnier when he didn't do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a funny man.
So. We get a caller, Ruben.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Hi, Ruben.
And hey, hello, Mrs. Hi, geez, I just got tongue-tied. You just made me nervous. I was thinking back
that's my
all
job.
the years.
It's just me
yes,
doing my job.
It is your job. I'm 35, so I actually remember you back from Laverne Shirley
oh my God.
Lee. Yep. Yeah, I didn't realize that was you until I did a quick little web search earlier today before listening to the show, and just want to see if you wanted to share any stories about those years or any of the cast or anything.
Oh
hey, and
my
I
gosh,
want to say that I love the Devil's Rejects.
Oh God, thank you. I do too. I just when anybody says something nice about Devil's Rejects, I just feel like we're family. We're family now. So
well, thank you. I'm glad I have you in my family.
Oh yeah, and it's a good, strong family. no matter what they try to tell you. It's interesting. I just doing my little Broadway musical. I guess it was last weekend. It must have been Thursday or Friday. Oh, I should walk out, and who should be standing there but Kathy Lander, David Lander's wife. And David doesn't come out that much anymore. He does get around, and he does get out. He's got MS. And I knew that, and I hadn't talked to them in several years, and there was Kathy. So we just sort of stood there and hugged each other and sobbed. Thought about all the memories and all the great times. Laverne Shirley was a wonderful experience for me. And then not too long ago, I was in Philadelphia at a fan convention, and they seated me next to Cindy Williams. Well, I hadn't seen Cindy since her last show, which was the next to last season, because she wasn't in that last season. Or she came into the first show the last season, and then I think she left. And they told us we couldn't call her because they were negotiating and all this stuff was going on at the studio, not to bother her, not to get involved. So they literally told us we couldn't call her. So then one thing led, I'd been at her wedding. I knew her husband, Bill, like before they got married, and I knew him before she did. And all of a sudden, Cindy's out of my life. And I didn't realize, I was only there 3 seasons, but you bond with people in situations like that.
Of course.
And here was Cindy at a horror convention, and it was more like a nostalgia convention, I guess. But we just had a wonderful time. We were able to hug and carry on and just go right. It was such, those experiences are so poignant and so kind of difficult and crazy when you go through them that I guess it's a kind of family bonding. And it's just you'd ask about Laverne Shirley, because there was Cindy recently, and then there was Kathy just the other night. Laverne Shirley was hard. It was my first series. In fact, it was my only series. No, I did a soap opera for a couple of years after that, but it was hard. It's hard to do a series. There's all kinds of things pulling at you, and material was always changing, and Penny and Cindy would want new scripts rewritten overnight because they didn't like what they were getting at the table reads. But the writers, everybody would scramble, and they ended up coming up with really terrific product. And for me, I just worked in the theater all those years, where you get a play, you do everything that the playwright tells you, and you stand where the director tells you, and all of a sudden I see that it's a real collaboration. So it was a learning experience, and I have to laugh. It's like the character I'm playing in Broad's the musical that I played, and I may play again in Mohegan Sun. But the character is so much like Rhonda on Laverne and Shirley without the rough edges. It's like the character of Louise is terribly sweet. And Rhonda always thought she was being terribly sweet, but she was nasty. She had lines like, I always make it a point of being nice to everyone. That way, everyone owes me a favor. It seems nice, but it's really mean.
I should steal that.
It's a good line, isn't it? I think it's a Gary Marshall line. But it was, the essence of it is, so it was wonderful back then. It was a wonderful and scary experience. And especially also being on a show where they've been together for 4 years, and suddenly you come in and nobody really wants to share airtime. And there's this new character, and they're all thinking, does this mean we're not enough? Actors were protective. And television actors are very protective over what their characters say, do, so it was traumatic, but it was wonderful. There, that's it.
One more question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I don't remember you from the series because I was really young at the time. But I also saw that you were on Monsters Today, which I
did an episode.
Which episode? I probably saw it. I'm sure I saw it.
Yeah, I played Next Door Neighbor. My husband, Michael Bell, played my husband, and we were next door. We lived next door to the Munsters, and we were somehow irritating. But I didn't play. I played kind of a nasty character.
I'm gonna look
that up. I can't remember the scenario. Exactly what the story was about.
Right.
But I thought anybody who lives next door to the Munsters has to be crazy.
Right.
And Lee Merriweather was in that. It was that was a cute show, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it as a kid. It was canceled after 2 years or something?
I think it was 2 years.
I think the original Monsters didn't last very long either.
And that was a great show.
Yeah, it was a really great show. It didn't last that long?
I think it only lasted 2 seasons.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yep.
You get the feeling that it was around forever.
Mm-hmm.
Because those characters are archetypes.
Yeah, definitely.
They'll be with us forever.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Was John Astin in the Addams Family or the Munsters?
Addams Family.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I did a play with him, and he's just one of the nicest people who ever lived. It's truly remarkable.
I think they're making a new Addams Family movie. It's supposedly going to be claymation, but I'm not positive on that.
Yes, I heard that too.
Yes, I heard it too.
I'd be looking forward to that. But thanks for calling in, Ruben.
You are welcome, and just one last thing, kudos. I rewatched the scene, and I hope I don't make you blush. Not that we can see it. I rewatched a scene from Private Resort today, and
I knew you were going to say that.
Thumbs up.
I have so few compromising scenes for one to watch. I figured if you were going to bring it up, it must be that one.
Well, I once again, I'm stuttering. Thank you. It was an honor talking to you.
Good, Ruben.
Have a
You just
wonderful
keep
night.
stuttering. For bringing that up, you deserve a good stutter.
You sure with your...
now.
You sure it's a thumb you're giving up?
No, sir. No, sir.
All right.
You all have a good night, and thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Good man. Actually, I think we lost the other. Yeah, I guess
down memory lane.
Definitely. John?
Yeah, I was just wondering about that Steve Guttenberg. Did he ever come on to you or anything like that?
No. No, men are usually afraid of me.
Oh, okay.
I can't even remember the last time anybody really came on to me. It might have been like 40 years ago. and my memory's still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
No, he never did. We hung out together, though. I like him enormously. It's interesting, you know. You get a lot of people that you work with tightly, you know, and you think there's got to be a bad apple. But oddly enough, I've been really lucky. Really
I don't
lucky.
think you've said anything bad about anyone this whole show.
Oh, yeah, you know, I'd like to, but I can't think of anything.
That's a good thing.
I would like to be one of those people that could really get the good quips out, you know, and the barbs and all that. But I've just been really lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we feel lucky to have you here.
Well, you know, you guys are terrific. This show must be really successful. You get a lot of call-ins and emails.
Yeah, it's good times. Always have a lot of fun here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can listen to the old shows on the website, right?
Yep. You can listen to the last 5 years or so of archives.
Yeah. I think I just might do that because I won't listen to all 5 years. I won't. I don't want to go back that far.
Right.
You are a busy lady. So.
I'll email you the ones to skip. There's a couple I'd skip, but for the most part.
You know I'll go right to those first.
Right.
No, I promise I won't. Now I'm very curious because you ask great questions. You seem to be really interested in. Wow, you did your homework. You know, you knew what I had been doing. You asked great questions. You have good lists. I'm interested in your shows. I think you're terrific at this.
Oh, thanks. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. I've enjoyed myself. I'm just looking at the clock. Oh, my gosh.
We'll keep you forever.
Hey, you gotta be careful with us. We'll just let you keep going.
This could be your first 4.5-hour show.
Yeah.
With one guest. No, I don't want to keep you. You obviously have other things you need to do on the show. But this has just been so great. And thanks for the questions about The Afflicted. And look for Hollywood Wine. And also look for Blackwater Transit. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
We made it 3 or 4 years ago. And it'd be very difficult to edit, but it's Tony Kaye. He did American History X. It's a really bizarre film with Lawrence Fishburne, Tom Skerritt, Carl Eubank, Beverly D'Angelo. Brittany Snow. It's a wonderful company. It was a terrific script, which Tony rewrote constantly on this set. We did it in New Orleans, right post-Katrina. We had the Ninth Ward residents were our background. It was one of the most difficult shoots, but it should be one. If it ever comes out, it will be a fascinating movie. And you have my phone number. Call me if you ever see it.
Definitely.
Okay? We've been waiting and waiting. I got in the middle of a big mess at Capitol Films. Don't know whose fault it was, but they went bankrupt. So one day that film may come out, and I really would like for you to see it.
All right.
It's very dark. It's about guns in America.
Okay.
Very dark and gruesome, but really interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay, bye.
Well, really appreciate coming on. Love to have you back.
It's been swell. Put me on your newsletter if you have one.
All right, definitely. Can we just keep here
bye,
for a second?
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, you all go to withoutyourhead.com. I'll come over there and put my boot up in your ass.